They said the world ended in fire. They were wrong. It ended in whispers, the slow, creeping kind that tell you to stay small, to remain unseen, to trade the inferno of your potential for the lukewarm comfort of the cage. They promise safety, those whispers. They promise acceptance. But they are the architects of a silent apocalypse, the one that claims your soul long before your body draws its final breath. I remember a time when I listened to those whispers. They were the lullaby of my own mediocrity, the background hum to a life lived on someone else's terms. I was a ghost in my own story, a passenger in a vessel I was born to command. My reflection was that of a stranger, his eyes holding a galaxy of surrendered dreams. The fire, the real fire, wasn't in the sky. It was buried deep within me, an ember suffocating under the wet ash of compliance. This pilgrimage, then, is not to a holy place, but to a holy state. It is a journey away from the chorus of the crowd and into the stark, silent cathedral of the self. I stand now at the precipice of the ashen plains, a landscape scarred by a fire the old world never understood. They say nothing grows here. They say it is a monument to finality, a testament to ruin. But I have come to believe they are wrong about that too. I believe this is where everything begins. This is the crucible. The wind here doesn't just bite, it speaks. It carries the dust of fallen empires and the echoes of forgotten ambitions. It asks a single, brutal question. Who are you when everything is stripped away? When there are no titles to hide behind, no chorus of approval to validate you, no convenient distractions to numb the ache of your own untended spirit. My name is Kalen, though that name means little here. It is a relic of a world I have left behind. Here I am only the pilgrim, the last one perhaps. The others who sought this path turned back, lured by the siren song of the familiar. They chose the comfort of their chains. But the memory of that stranger in the mirror is a ghost that haunts me more than any desolation this land can offer. The fire I seek is not one of warmth, but of refinement. It is the fire of inner dominion, the unyielding, untamable flame that burns away the superfluous and forges the core of a man into something indestructible. It is the power to stand in the heart of a storm, whether it rages in the sky or in the soul, and to remain the unwavering eye, to become the master of your own internal weather. The first step onto the plains is a declaration of war, a war against the whisper campaign that has governed my life. The ash crunches under my boot, a sound like the breaking of old promises. There is no map for this place, no guide. The only compass is the pull of that inner fire, the faint, flickering warmth that tells me I am moving toward my own true north. The world I left behind was loud, a cacophony of opinions, expectations, and judgments. A relentless assault on the senses designed to keep you from ever hearing the quiet truth of your own heart. Here, the silence is an ocean. At first, it is deafening. In its depths, the whispers I thought I had outrun begin to surface. They are insidious, cloaked in the voice of reason, of practicality. Turn back. This is madness. What are you trying to prove? And to whom? For the first few days, these voices are my only companions. They are the ghosts of my past, the specters of every teacher who told me to be realistic, every friend who offered well-meaning but soul-crushing advice, every fear that ever convinced me to play it safe. They parade my failures before my eyes, reminding me of every time I quit, every instance where I chose the path of least resistance. The desolation of the plains mirrors the desolation they try to cultivate within me. The endless, gray expanse is a canvas for my doubts. My mind, so accustomed to the stimulation of the old world, now finds itself with nothing to do but turn upon itself. This is the first test, I realize. It is not a monster with claws and teeth, but a far more formidable beast, the untamed mind. The Stoics of old spoke of this. They taught that we are not disturbed by events but by the views we take of them. The ashen plains are just a place, ash, rock, wind. It is my mind that populates it with horrors. It is my own thinking that projects failure onto the horizon. The fire of inner dominion is not about silencing these thoughts. That is a fool's errand. It is about learning to observe them without attachment, to see them for what they are, echoes, not edicts. Neurological weather patterns, not undeniable truths. So I begin to practice. As a venomous thought arises, you are not strong enough for this. I do not fight it. I do not try to suppress it. I simply acknowledge it. I hold it up to the light of my awareness. I see it, a fleeting shadow, and I let it pass. I do not serve it tea. I do not invite it to stay. I am the sky, and it is a passing cloud. I create a mantra, a simple anchor in the storm of my own consciousness. With every step I sink my breath to a phrase. I am the master of this inner world. It feels like a lie at first. The whispers laugh at the audacity of it, but I persist, step after step, breath after breath. I am the master of this inner world. The phrase is not an affirmation meant to delude myself. It is a statement of intent. It is the forging of a new neural pathway. It is the slow, deliberate act of reclaiming territory that was long ago ceded to fear and doubt. The physical hardship of the journey becomes an ally in this. The ache in my muscles, the gnawing hunger, the thirst that rasps in my throat, they are real. They are present. They pull me out of the haunted house of my abstract fears and ground me in the visceral reality of the now. I cannot afford to be lost in anxieties about tomorrow when my entire being is focused on finding water today. Survival becomes a form of meditation. The act of scanning the horizon for a change in terrain, of listening for the faintest trickle of water, of rationing my meager supplies. It demands a state of absolute presence. The mind, when given a clear and vital purpose, has less energy to waste on self-sabotage. This is the discipline of the body taming the chaos of the mind. In the old world, comfort was the ultimate goal. Soft beds, endless entertainment, the elimination of all friction. We were sold a vision of life as a frictionless slide into the grave. But here, I learned that friction is what creates the fire. It is in the struggle against the elements, against my own limitations, that the spark of my true potential is struck. Hardship is not the enemy. It is the grindstone. It is the catalyst for alchemy, the pressure that turns coal into diamond. One evening, as a bruised purple twilight bleeds across the sky, a memory ambushes me. It is vivid, painful. I am a young man standing before a panel of judges, my hands trembling as I present a project I had poured my soul into. It was unconventional, audacious. It was authentically me. And they rejected it, not just rejected, but ridiculed it. Their words were sharp, dismissive. This isn't how things are done. Be more practical. Who do you think you are? I see the sneer on one man's face, the pity in a woman's eyes. In that moment, a part of me died. I folded. I put away my dreams and learned to color within the lines. I took the practical path. I became a ghost. Here, in the vast, unforgiving silence of the plains, that memory plays out not as a source of shame, but as a diagnostic tool. I see it with a clarity that was impossible before. Their judgment was never about me. It was about them. Their fears, their limitations, their own surrendered dreams. They were guardians of the cage, and they were startled by the sight of someone trying to fly. The pain I felt was real, but my interpretation of it was flawed. I chose to believe their verdict. I chose to internalize their limitations. I gave them the power to define my worth. The fire of inner dominion is the reclaiming of that power. It is the understanding that no one outside of you can give you your value, and no one can take it away unless you allow it. You are the sole legislator of your own internal kingdom. A profound shift occurs within me. The memory no longer has a sting. It is simply a story, a chapter from a book about a man I used to be. I look up at the first stars pricking the velvet darkness. They are indifferent to my struggles, to my breakthroughs. Their silent, burning grandeur puts everything into perspective. We are so small, and our anxieties are smaller still. And yet within this fragile vessel of flesh and bone resides a universe of consciousness, a power to choose our response, to create meaning from the chaos. That is a power of cosmic significance. In that moment, standing alone in the heart of nowhere, I do not feel insignificant. I feel sovereign. The days that follow are different. The whispers still come, but their power is diminished. They are like hecklers in the back of a vast auditorium, their voices faint and irrelevant to the speaker on the stage. My focus is singular. I am a pilgrim on a path, and every hardship is simply another milestone. I find a source of brackish water and filter it through charcoal from my small fire, the slow, methodical process, a ritual of self-reliance. I learn to read the subtle language of the landscape, to find shelter in the lee of rock formations, to move with an efficiency that conserves precious energy. I am no longer just surviving. I am adapting. I am becoming a creature of this place, my inner landscape slowly beginning to mirror the stark, resilient beauty of the outer one. I come to understand that the world I left behind was not a world of strength, but of cultivated weakness. It was a system designed to make us dependent on external validation for our self-esteem, dependent on convenience for our comfort, dependent on institutions for our sense of purpose. The pilgrimage is a severing of those dependencies. It is a radical act of self-sufficiency, not just in a physical sense, but in a spiritual and psychological one. It is the deliberate choice to become the source of your own validation, your own comfort, your own purpose, to build your house on the bedrock of your own character rather than on the shifting sands of public opinion. This is the foundation of the alpha mindset, not the caricature of aggression and dominance peddled by the insecure, but the quiet, unshakable confidence of a man who knows his own worth because he has forged it himself. He does not need to broadcast his strength because he embodies it. He does not seek to rule over others because he has achieved the far more difficult and meaningful task of ruling over himself. He is the eye of the storm. He possesses a power that is not dangerous to others, but dangerous to the status quo, dangerous to the illusions that keep people small and afraid. It is the power of a man who has met his own demons in the desolate places and has learned to walk with them, not as their slave, but as their master. One morning, the featureless gray of the plains is broken by a new shape on the horizon, a dark, jagged line, a mountain range. It is the first significant landmark I have seen since I began, and I know with a certainty that transcends logic that my path leads there. The mountains represent a new phase of the journey, a new level of challenge. The flat plains tested my endurance, my ability to persevere in the face of monotony and despair. The mountains will test my will, my ability to climb, to overcome vertical obstacles, to strive for something higher. The sight of them does not fill me with dread, but with a strange, exhilarating energy. I have crossed the ocean of my own internal noise. Now it is time to climb. It is time to see how high a man can go when he is no longer weighed down by the ghosts of who he used to be. The fire of inner dominion is not a destination. It is the journey itself. It is the heat generated by the relentless friction of self-overcoming. And my journey is just beginning. The foothills of the range are a gradual transition, the ashen ground giving way to stony soil and sparse, hardy vegetation. It is a testament to the tenacity of life, a quiet rebellion against the desolation. I see it as a metaphor. Even in the harshest environments, both external and internal, a seed of resilience can take root. It requires only a refusal to accept the barrenness as a permanent state. This is where the real work of self-improvement begins. Not in the grand, sweeping gestures, but in the small, consistent acts of cultivation. The discipline to take one more step when your body screams for rest. The discipline to choose a constructive thought when your mind defaults to despair. The discipline to see the lesson in the obstacle, rather than just the obstacle itself. The word discipline in the world I left was often associated with punishment, with restriction. It was the sterile, joyless domain of the drill sergeant and the overbearing teacher. But here, I am discovering its true meaning. The root of the word is discipulus, the Latin for student. Discipline is not about self-flagellation. It is about being a dedicated student of your own highest potential. It is the conscious and deliberate structuring of your life in service of a greater goal. It is the ultimate act of self-love, the recognition that you are worthy of the effort it takes to become the person you were meant to be. My days now take on a new rhythm. It is no longer about simply enduring the horizontal expanse. It is about the vertical ascent. Every morning I wake before the sun, not because of an alarm clock but because of an internal fire. I perform a series of stretches, feeling the life in my muscles, grateful for the physical vessel that carries me on this journey. I eat a small portion of my rations, not with frantic hunger but with mindful appreciation. This fuel will build the man who climbs this mountain. Then I begin to walk. The path is not clear. I must forge my own, reading the rock, testing my footing, making constant micro-adjustments. My mind must be fully engaged. A moment of distraction, a careless step, could lead to a fall, to injury, to failure. This focused attention is a powerful tool. It starves the parasitic whispers of the past. When your entire being is concentrated on the task at hand, the placement of a foot, the grip of a hand, there is no room for the ghosts of yesterday or the anxieties of tomorrow. This is the essence of inner peace, not a blissed-out, passive state, but a dynamic, engaged presence. It is the peace that comes from being so utterly consumed by your purpose that the noise of the ego fades into irrelevance. I begin to see how the hustle culture of the old world was a perversion of this principle. It was business for the sake of business, a frantic running in place designed to distract from a profound inner emptiness. True, purpose-driven action is different. It is calm, centered, and relentless. It is the movement of a river, not the splashing of a puddle. As I climb higher, the air thins. Each breath requires more effort. My body, unaccustomed to the altitude, protests. My lungs burn, my head aches. The whispers find a new avenue of attack, using my physical discomfort as a weapon. See, this is your limit. You've gone far enough. It's respectable to turn back now. No one would blame you. This is the siren song of mediocrity, the rationalization of the plateau. It is the most dangerous voice of all because it sounds so reasonable. It doesn't scream failure. It seduces you with the promise of good enough. But good enough is the enemy of the great. It is the fertile soil in which regret takes root. I think of the Stoic concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not a passive resignation, but an active, enthusiastic embrace of whatever comes. This burning in my lungs, this ache in my head, I will not merely endure it, I will embrace it, I will love it, for this is the feeling of growth. This is the sensation of my own perceived limits being shattered. This pain is the messenger of my own transformation. I thank it. I welcome it as a partner in my ascent. This shift in perspective is everything. It transforms the ordeal into an opportunity. The obstacle becomes the way. One afternoon, I find a small, sheltered ledge, a natural balcony overlooking the vastness of the ashen plains below. I decide to make camp here for a few days, to acclimate to the altitude and to consolidate the lessons of the climb. I call it the oasis of solitude. It is here that I begin to understand the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the power of being alone. In the old world, I was constantly surrounded by people, yet I often felt a profound loneliness, a sense of being unseen, of being fundamentally misunderstood. I sought connection in the crowd, but found only the reflection of my own masks. Here, in this profound isolation, I am finally connecting with the one person who has been a stranger to me my entire life, myself. Solitude is a forge. It strips away the performative aspects of personality. With no one to impress, no social script to follow, you are forced to confront the raw, unedited version of yourself. And you must learn to become your own best company. I spend my days in a simple routine. I gather scarce firewood. I mend my worn clothing. I sit for hours, watching the play of light and shadow on the plains below. I do not try to distract myself. I allow my thoughts and feelings to arise without judgment. I listen to the silence, and in that silence I begin to hear a new voice. It is not a whisper. It is a deep, quiet resonance. It is the voice of my own intuition, the voice of my authentic self. It has been there all along, but it was drowned out by the noise of the world and the clamor of my own insecurities. This voice doesn't offer easy answers. It doesn't flatter my ego. It speaks in the simple, undeniable language of truth. It points out where I have been complacent, where I have been dishonest with myself, where I have shirked my own potential. But it does so without condemnation. It is the voice of a stern but loving mentor. It is the voice of the man I am here to become. I realize that building confidence is not about puffing yourself up with empty affirmations. It is about building a relationship of trust and respect with this inner voice. It is about making and keeping promises to yourself. Every time I choose the harder right over the easier wrong, every time I push through discomfort in service of my goal, I am casting a vote for this new self. I am proving to myself that I can be relied upon. Confidence is the reputation you have with yourself. During my time at the oasis, a storm gathers over the plains. I watch it from my high vantage point, a roiling mass of dark clouds and distant lightning. It is a spectacle of immense power and sublime beauty. The storm is a perfect metaphor for the turmoil of the human heart. The sudden rages, the deep sorrows, the flashes of anxiety, they are like this storm. They arise, they express their immense energy, and then they pass. The sky is not the storm. The sky is the space in which the storm occurs. And I am the sky. My consciousness is the space in which my emotions occur. I am not my anger. I am not my sadness. I am the silent, witnessing presence behind it all. This realization is the key to emotional mastery. It is not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. That is a recipe for a psychological pressure cooker. It is about creating space between the stimulus and the response. When a wave of fear washes over me, I learn to pause, to breathe, to observe the physical sensations in my body without being swept away by the narrative the fear is telling me. I can feel the storm without becoming the storm. This is a superpower. In a world where most people are slaves to their every fleeting impulse and emotional reaction, the man who can remain centered in the hurricane of his own feelings is a king. He can think clearly when others panic. He can act decisively when others are paralyzed by fear. He has achieved a level of freedom that few even know is possible. The storm on the plains rages for a full day. I watch it, a humble student of its power. I feel its echoes within me, the old anxieties that try to use this display of external chaos to reassert their dominance. But now I have an anchor. I have my breath. I have the vast, silent space of my own awareness. I am not afraid. I am simply present. As the storm finally breaks and the first rays of sun pierce through the clouds, painting the wet ash in hues of silver and gold, I feel a sense of profound peace. I have weathered an external storm and an internal one simultaneously, and I am still here. I am stronger. My time at the oasis of solitude has been a turning point. I have forged a new relationship with discipline, with solitude, and with my own emotional landscape. I am no longer a refugee fleeing the world of whispers. I am a pilgrim ascending to the summit of my own potential. I look up at the jagged peaks above me. The final leg of the journey awaits. It will be the most difficult, the most demanding, but I am ready. I have learned to find the way not by looking for a path, but by becoming the kind of man who can walk where there is no path. I pack my meager belongings. I take one last look at the plains below, a monument to the man I used to be. And then I turn my face to the summit and continue my climb. The fire of inner dominion is no longer a distant concept. It is the very blood in my veins, the very air in my lungs. It is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that no matter what the mountain demands of me, I will not be broken. I will become the mountain. The ascent from the oasis of solitude is a different kind of trial. The challenges are no longer primarily psychological, the internal ghosts of doubt and fear. They are now brutally, undeniably physical. The rock faces are steeper, the handholds more treacherous. The wind is a physical blow, a constant muscular presence that seeks to tear me from the mountain's face. Each movement must be deliberate, precise, and executed with an economy of energy. There is no room for error. This is a place where the law of gravity is an unforgiving arbiter of a single moment's inattention. My mind, which once wrestled with the abstract demons of regret and anxiety, is now blissfully, completely focused. It is tethered to the reality of rock, wind, and the ache of straining muscles. This is the ultimate state of flow. The chattering ego, the part of the mind that worries about perception and frets about the past and future, is silent. It has been starved of the oxygen of relevance. All that exists is the next handhold, the next secure footing, the next deep, deliberate breath. This is where radical transformation truly occurs. Not in the comfort of a seminar room or in the pages of a book, but in the crucible of applied stress, where you must become more than you were a moment ago simply to survive. You do not think about becoming unrecognizable. You simply focus on the next step, and the accumulation of those steps over time forges you into someone new. The old you could not have made this climb. The man who is making it is, by definition, no longer the man who started at the bottom. Days bleed into one another, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. My body has become a lean, efficient machine. The superfluous fat has been burned away, leaving only sinew and hardened muscle. My skin is weathered, my hands are a latticework of calluses and small cuts, but my eyes are clear. They hold a clarity and a depth that were absent before. They are the eyes of a man who has looked into the abyss of his own limitations and has not blinked. I am learning the language of the mountain. I am learning to read its moods, to anticipate its dangers, to respect its immense power while refusing to be intimidated by it. I am not its conqueror. That is the language of ego. I am its student, its partner in a dangerous and sacred dance. One evening I pull myself onto a narrow, windswept ridge just as the sun is setting. I am exhausted, my body trembling with the strain of the day's climb. And for the first time in a long time, the whispers return, but they have a new strategy. They do not attack my strength, they question my purpose. You have climbed so high, you have proven you are strong, but look around you. You are utterly alone. What is the point of this strength if it is not witnessed? What is the value of this transformation if there is no one to applaud it? You have conquered your mind, but you have abandoned the world. Go back. Go back and show them what you have become. They will admire you. They will respect you. This is the most insidious temptation yet. It is the ego, presumed dead, resurrecting itself in a new, more sophisticated guise. It is the lure of external validation, not the desperate need of the insecure boy I was, but the subtle, seductive promise of recognition for the strong man I have become. It is the final trap, to do the right thing for the wrong reason, to undertake the hero's journey only to seek a crown at the end of it. The fire of inner dominion is not a performance. It is not a means to an end. It is its own reward. The purpose of the climb is the climb itself. The purpose of becoming a stronger man is to be a stronger man, Any external benefit is merely a byproduct, not the goal. To seek applause is to once again hand the keys to your inner kingdom over to the audience. I close my eyes, I let the wind whip around me. I feel the solid rock beneath me. I do not fight the thought, I examine it, I see its logic, its appeal, and I see its fallacy. The man who needs his strength to be seen is still a slave to the perception of others. His confidence is borrowed, not owned. The truly powerful man, the man of a true alpha mindset, is indifferent to applause. His validation comes from within. It is the quiet, internal nod of self-respect earned through hard deeds done in the dark, with no one watching. It is the knowledge that he has lived up to his own code, that he has honored his own potential. That is an unshakable foundation. The approval of the crowd is a house built on sand. I open my eyes. The last sliver of the sun disappears behind a distant peak. The sky is a riot of impossible color. The point, I say aloud, my voice raspy, carried away by the wind, is this. The point is the feeling of my own heart beating in my chest, a steady drum of vitality. The point is the clarity of my own mind, a silent, peaceful sky. The point is the view, not the physical view of the world below, but the internal view from this new height of self-awareness and self-mastery. I have not abandoned the world. I have prepared myself to re-enter it, not as a beggar seeking validation, but as a sovereign bringing value. Not as a boy needing to be seen, but as a man capable of seeing. The next day I reach it, the summit. It is not a dramatic, pointed peak, but a stark, windswept plateau of rock and ice. There is nothing here but the sky and the wind and the silence. There is no trophy, no finish line, no cheering crowd. There is only the culmination of a journey. I drop my pack. I walk to the edge and look out. The world is spread before me, a tapestry of mountains and plains under a vast, indifferent sky. I feel no rush of triumphant adrenaline, no desire to shout my victory to the heavens. Instead, I feel a profound, quiet stillness. It is the stillness of a man who has finally come home to himself. The journey was not about reaching this physical place. This summit is just a rock. The true summit was an internal one. It was the moment I chose to take the first step onto the plains. It was the moment I learned to watch my thoughts without judgment. It was the moment I embraced hardship as a teacher. It was the moment I found power in solitude. It was the moment I faced the storm of my emotions and did not break. It was the moment I rejected the subtle poison of seeking external validation. The pilgrimage was not a line from a to be, it was a circle that led back to the very center of my own being. I spend a long time on that summit. I feel the sun on my face. I feel the wind cleansing the last remnants of the man I used to be. The whispers are gone, all of them. In their place is a deep, resonant silence. It is not an empty silence. It is a silence that is full of potential, full of peace, full of an unshakable strength. I have conquered my mind not by defeating it in battle, but by making it my ally. I have unleashed my potential not by adding something to myself, but by stripping away everything that was not me. I have found the fire of inner dominion, and I now understand its secret. The fire is not a raging inferno of aggression. It is a calm, steady, internal flame. It does not need to roar to prove its power. It simply burns. It provides light. It provides warmth. And it is utterly, completely, and sovereignly my own. The descent is always faster than the ascent, but it requires a different kind of attention. Going up is a battle against exhaustion. Going down is a battle against complacency. It is on the way down, when you believe the hardest part is over, that you are most likely to make a fatal mistake. It is a final lesson from the mountain. Never lose your focus. Never assume you have arrived. The practice of self-mastery is not a destination you reach. It is a path you walk for the rest of your life. The summit was a milestone, not the end of the road. As I make my way back towards the world of men, I am not the same pilgrim who began this journey. The man who started was running from something. He was a refugee from his own weakness, his own inauthenticity. The man who returns is walking towards something. He is a sovereign returning to his kingdom. Not a kingdom of land or subjects, but the kingdom of his own life, which he is now prepared to rule with wisdom, courage, and purpose. He is not better than anyone else. That was the old game, the game of comparison and ego. He is simply, finally, a better version of himself. And that is the only competition that ever truly mattered. He knows that the world he is returning to is still full of whispers. The chorus of mediocrity still sings its seductive song. The merchants of distraction still peddle their wares. The architects of the cage are still at work, but he is no longer susceptible to their influence. He has built an inner citadel. He has kindled a fire that no external wind can extinguish. He carries the peace of the summit and the resilience of the mountain within him. He is a pilgrim who has completed his journey, only to realize that his true purpose is to show others that the path exists. Not by preaching, not by shouting, but by embodying the truth he has discovered. By walking among them as a quiet testament to the dangerous power that is unleashed when a man decides to conquer his own mind and claim the fire of his own inner dominion. So now I speak to you, not as Caleb the pilgrim, but as a reflection of the potential that lies dormant within you. You stand at the edge of your own ashen plains. Your life in its current form may be that desolate landscape, a monument to the whispers you have listened to for too long. The whispers that told you to be realistic, to play it safe, to trade your fire for the illusion of security. You feel it, don't you? The quiet ache of an unlived life. The stranger that looks back at you from the mirror. The faint, almost forgotten ember of the person you were meant to be, buried under years of self-doubt and societal conditioning. This story is not just my story. It is a map to the hidden fire within you. The journey I described is not one you must take in a literal sense. You do not need to find a desolate wasteland to begin your pilgrimage. Your ashen plains are the habits that hold you back. Your mountains are the fears that paralyze you. Your storm is the emotional chaos you allow to rule your life. The pilgrimage is an internal one, and it can begin right now in this very moment. It begins with a single choice. The choice to stop listening to the whispers. The choice to turn your attention inward and to begin the slow, deliberate work of reclaiming your own mind. The first step is to embrace the silence, to carve out time each day to disconnect from the relentless noise of the world, to sit with yourself without distraction and to simply observe the weather of your own mind, to see the thoughts and feelings that arise not as commands but as passing clouds. This is the beginning of creating that space between stimulus and response. This is where you take back your power. You are the sky, not the storm. The next step is to embrace voluntary hardship. Our modern world is a conspiracy against your potential. It is designed to make you soft, weak, and dependent. You must rebel, seek out discomfort. Do the thing that you do not want to do. Wake up early. Take the cold shower. Push yourself in your workouts. Read a challenging book instead of scrolling through endless feeds. Every time you choose the path of discipline over the path of ease, you are forging your inner steel. You are proving to yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. You are the master. Then you must learn to cherish solitude. You must learn to be your own best company, to find your validation from within, not from the fickle and fleeting approval of others. This is not about becoming a hermit. It is about building an inner foundation so strong that your interactions with the world come from a place of fullness, not from a place of need. When you no longer need anything from anyone, you are free to give freely. You become a leader, a source of strength, not by trying but by being. This journey will not be easy. The whispers will fight back. Your old habits will scream in protest. There will be days when you feel lost in the plains of your own despair, when the mountain of your ambition seems impossibly high. But you must remember the pilgrim. You must remember that the obstacle is the way. The pain is the messenger of your growth. The struggle is the forge of your character. The fire of inner dominion is not a gift. It is a conquest. You are not alone on this path. There are others, a quiet brotherhood and sisterhood of modern-day pilgrims who have heard the same call, who have grown weary of the whispers and have chosen to seek the fire. When you embark on this journey, you join this community, a community defined not by geography, but by a shared commitment to self-mastery. We are the ones who choose the difficult path, because we know it is the only path that leads to a life of true power, purpose, and peace. So I ask you, what is your ashen plains? What is the desolate landscape in your life that you are ready to leave behind? What mountain are you called to climb? Share it in the comments below. Declare your pilgrimage. Let your first step be a public commitment, not for the validation of others, but as a statement of intent to yourself. Let the community of fellow pilgrims witness your resolve and hold you to it. Your journey begins now. The fire is waiting. Do not let it die as an ember. Fan it into a flame. Let it burn away the old you and forge the masterpiece you were always meant to be. The world has enough ghosts. It needs more fire. It needs you. Not the you that you have been, but the you that you could be. Go, your pilgrimage awaits. I will see you on the summit.